Bluelock is pretty damn hype, and that is an indisputable fact that we can all agree with. But what exactly makes this anime about the sport where they kick the ball so great, when the average weeb hearing the word sports prompts a slew of PTSD flashbacks detailing a lifelong lack in hand-eye coordination? Today we find out how Bluelock locks you in with its hype, and how that hype mirrors its story more than you realize. Now, hype is an inherently subjective thing to talk about, which is why we'll be taking the incredibly subjective approach of defining it as a balance between two forces, anticipation and realization. When what we as viewers anticipate from an anime is later fulfilled by what is delivered in a satisfying way, it is hype. Bluelock is no different, which is why we will see how it raises our anticipation and how that anticipation is then met. We drop right in as Isagi's about to score, but passes to his teammate only for him to miss, which is why he is now scaring these random children in a park. Yet he has one chance to redeem himself. Bluelock. Not this anime, but the super epic secret program to produce Japan's greatest striker who will lead them to victory in the World Cup. An incredibly exciting prospect for Isagi, who takes this offer more ambitious than ever before, except for the slight problem where there are 299 other players that are all extremely good doing the exact same thing, and if Isagi loses to them, like he literally did 5 seconds ago, he will be banned from playing soccer forever. Then Mr. Noodleman, the guy who runs this thing, also known as Ego, will not settle for using words to tell this to everyone, so he immediately makes them turn on each other to knock someone out of Bluelock and annihilate their dreams forever, which we all see happen in the first episode. Through this setup, anticipation is built in multiple ways. On one hand, the simple demonstration that Ego gives shows that he ain't messing around, and that Bluelock the anime ain't messing around with what Isagi needs to go up against. A simple underdog story is created here, and while that is cliche, it is an efficient and effective way to raise the stakes and make the viewers care more about the plot of the show. Right now, Isagi is at his lowest point. If he loses, he will never play soccer again. To win, he must become the best. Ego lets us and Isagi understand the stakes, but also lets the 299 other people in that room understand the exact same stakes as well, meaning they all have the exact same goal that absolutely cannot overlap. This combination of clear, certain consequences leaves a sense of uncertainty about our main character's future as a striker that work together to keep us on the edge of our seat anticipating what comes next. Still, Bluelock would not be able to maintain such anticipation with the setup alone for multiple episodes, which is where we now look towards the characters. At first, it may be surprising that despite being the anime where egotism and strength prevail over friendship and teamwork, Bluelock devotes a lot of time towards its characters, yet when looking at it in the context of building hype, it makes a lot more sense. Throughout this anime, a recurring idea is that of ego. Many times over, Isagi learns to use his overwhelming ego to drive him towards a goal, but if Isagi was the only one that had an overpowering ego, it would be too easy for him to win and thus would lower the stakes. So to avoid that, Bluelock is not a story of one person's ego, but the competing egos of many. To make these competing egos be a compelling story, Bluelock uses time outside of games exploring other characters to see that Isagi's opponents are often more terrifying and motivated than he is, and are often more than willing to try something crazy to win, creating uncertainty. The story then does not rely on opponents pulling off cheap tricks to win, save for a couple episodes near the beginning before the characters are fully established, because it is their egos that won't allow it. Thus, Bluelock keeps the story from deviating too far from its original setup that works so well and maintains the stakes, which leaves more time for developing characters, so now we get excited about what they will do next while also not knowing how it will all turn out. What's even better is that because the egos of his opponents are so powerful, when Isagi loses, the story is still satisfying because the loss was due to a skill issue, and when he wins, it's also just as satisfying because he had to evolve to an even higher level to defeat truly difficult opponents. Isagi cannot just become egotistical, he must take the ego of others and crush it under his own, and if you ask me, that's pretty hype. Through the right blend of certainty in the stakes and ambiguity in what follows, we now know how Bluelock keeps us anticipating what comes next. With that, Bluelock must now realize our anticipation in a satisfying way to be truly hype, but when the stakes that have been set up are so great, the ways Bluelock meets them must be equally as great as well. One of the first things people notice in an anime is, well, the animation. While Bluelock doesn't have the greatest animation of all time, it is well animated when it needs to be. During slower moments, the animation is about average, but during intense moments, the animation improves to match. While this is fairly standard for most anime and definitely helps the overall experience, the sound design and music are much more important in how Bluelock feels to watch. The music works by simply just following what happens with Bluelock's S-tier soundtrack. In a match, it will first be aggressive and loud as players size each other up, yet the range of sound will still be smaller since the outcome is still unknown. When Isagi and his teammates are winning, the music builds and builds as they get closer and closer to scoring. When they are getting demolished, it highlights their utter despair. It's not to say that Bluelock is the only anime that does this, but because the music is already so good, it comes together very nicely. When sound design is paired with the animation, Bluelock is great at showing the instantaneous thoughts and emotions of the characters, and that is best seen in its use of auras. If done poorly, a literal aura around an anime character can seem over the top, but because of the intense over the top setup, this does does not happen in Bluelock, and thus Bluelock leverages the fact that it's an anime to enhance an already exciting scene with auras around the characters. Furthermore, the auras are paired with each of them by color and sound, and while that is an obvious choice, it gives a clear visual representation of their signature ability that we become familiar with. By the current point in the anime, we can recognize when someone is about to do something insane with their ability and who that someone is by just their aura, which is important in a soccer anime where there are plenty of points that the focus is on the ball and not on the characters' faces. Just as the auras of the characters keep us connected to them when they unleash their signature move to score a goal, the depth of these characters means that we care that it was made in the first place. Bluelock's character depth therefore builds anticipation that is fulfilled by our emotional investment in not only Isagi, but all the other characters also. This leads to why later in the story, when the roles of the entire cast are switched up, the character dynamics still work just fine because they are fleshed out enough to be in multiple different roles, once again allowing for more time to be spent exploring the characters, which then repeats the cycle of building and realizing anticipation. When this cycle continues and the characters evolve to an even higher level and do more epic and hype things to perfect their goal-making formula, it exceeds viewer expectations in an organic way. And as these expectations are exceeded, Bluelock still conveys the thoughts and emotions of the characters to us so that we experience it in small part ourselves, pulling us along with them as Isagi learns the pull that his ego has, the blue flame within his eyes locking us in as he locks in on his goal. In this way, when Isagi finds the chemical reaction between his and his teammates' formulas coming together in a goal, there is also a chemical reaction between all the parts of this anime coming together to be incredibly entertaining and hype. The buildup of anticipation with the plot setup and characters, followed by a good execution of that setup, is what makes Bluelock a surprisingly good anime that is able to break many of the tropes of the genre to create an incredible watching experience. So now we know just a little bit more about what makes Bluelock epic and hype, and probably some other anime too, hopefully. So yeah, it's all my opinion, of course. If you enjoyed this video, then maybe you would like the one on the end screen, or maybe you would like to touch grass. Anyways, that's it for today. I'll see you in the next one.